Welcome to today's Tea Time audio story. It's time to slow down, take a deep breath, and enjoy a moment just for you. As you sip your favorite tea, let your mind drift into the world of stories, where imagination comes alive and anything is possible. Listening to audio stories isn't just entertaining, it's also a wonderful way to relax, spark creativity, and improve your English in a natural and enjoyable way. Stories have the power to transport us to far-off places, introduce us to new characters, and remind us of life's little lessons. So whether you're here to unwind, learn something new, or simply enjoy a quiet escape, this is your time. Get comfortable, let your worries melt away, and allow today's story to take you on a journey. Let the magic begin. The morning rush at Le Petit Délice had settled, leaving a comforting hum of activity inside the bakery. The scent of caramelized sugar and butter lingered in the air, and the soft hum of French cafe music played in the background. Elise moved with ease behind the counter, her hands expertly shaping delicate pastries while chatting with her regular customers. But amidst the warmth of her world, her mind kept drifting back to the sharply dressed stranger from earlier that morning. There was something about him, the way he carried himself, the intensity in his eyes, the air of importance that surrounded him. He was different from her usual patrons, and yet, there had been a flicker of something human beneath his polished exterior. She had almost regretted her bluntness. Almost. But there was something oddly satisfying about seeing him momentarily stunned by her words. The bell above the door jingled, pulling her from her thoughts. Expecting another familiar face, she looked up and froze. Standing in the doorway, looking slightly out of place yet entirely composed, was the very man who had occupied her mind. Adrien Laurent. Adrien hadn't planned to return. He wasn't a man of routine when it came to his meals, and certainly not one to linger in small neighborhood bakeries. But there was something about the morning, about the woman behind the counter, about the taste of that croissant, that had stayed with him long after he had left. He told himself it was just about the food. That his return had nothing to do with the way she had challenged him, the way her warm brown eyes had flashed with amusement at his expense. And yet, here he was. Elise arched an eyebrow as he approached the counter. Back so soon? Adrien cleared his throat. I had another meeting in the area. Of course you did, she said, her voice laced with amusement. And yet, you found yourself here. He exhaled sharply, a hint of a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. Perhaps I wanted to see if the coffee was just as good the second time. She smirked, already reaching for a cup. It always is. As she poured, he glanced around the bakery, truly taking it in this time. The rustic wooden shelves lined with fresh bread, the delicate display of eclairs and tarts, the small tables adorned with fresh flowers, it was a world apart from his usual surroundings of glass conference rooms and sterile offices. Do you always work alone? He asked, watching as she moved effortlessly through her space. Mostly, she replied. I have some help in the afternoons, but the morning rush is mine to handle. That's a lot for one person. She shrugged. I prefer it that way. He studied her for a moment before taking the offered cup. Why? Elise hesitated. It wasn't a question she was often asked. Most people assumed she ran the bakery because she loved baking, which was true. But there was more to it than that. Because this place is mine, she finally said. Every loaf of bread, every pastry, I know exactly what goes into them. It's not about efficiency, it's about quality. Adrien took a sip of his coffee, considering her words. That's rare. Most people focus on growth, expansion. And what about you? She countered. Do you prefer quality or just success? The question caught him off guard. He had spent his entire career chasing bigger deals, larger projects, higher positions. Success had always been the goal. But quality? He wasn't sure he had ever stopped to consider it. He set his cup down. I suppose I haven't thought about it much. Elise smiled knowingly. Well, maybe you should. He chuckled, shaking his head. You certainly don't hold back, do you? Life's too short for anything else, she said simply. For the first time in a long while, Adrian found himself wanting to stay a little longer. That was how it started. What should have been a one-time stop turned into a habit. Each morning, Adrian found himself at Le Petit Délice, his presence no longer feeling out of place. He would arrive, always impeccably dressed, always with a sharp contrast to the cozy bakery. And each morning, Elise would greet him with a knowing smile, ready with a cup of coffee and a perfectly baked pastry. They never spoke of why he kept coming back, and yet, the conversations between them grew longer, more effortless. What started as banter turned into something more, talks about life, about passion, about what it meant to truly love what you do. And somewhere along the way, Elise realized she was looking forward to seeing him. Somewhere along the way, Adrian realized that in the quiet of the bakery, in the warmth of Elise's world, he had found something he didn't know he was missing. Thank you for joining today's Tea Time story. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of imagination and storytelling. Whether it made you smile, sparked a new thought, or simply gave you a moment to relax, we're grateful to have shared this time with you. Thank you for listening and being part of our story time. Keep dreaming, keep imagining, and we'll see you again for another magical tale soon. Until next time, take care and happy listening.